welcome to our Hookist Live Monday nights where we pick a new lyric for our Schoolapalooza song. We get to talk to a fantastic songwriter. We'll just go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Sarah Gulish. I am from F-flat Books, and I'm also a music teacher who has been helping build this song with my students in my classroom. And I'll let Terry and Dan say hello before we introduce our honored guest tonight.
Hi, I'm Terry Durkash. I am a co-founder of Hookist, that we are collaborating with Moosiko and F-flat to write this song with all the kids in America, we'll say, and bring songwriting into schools. That's it. Dan, go.
Awesome. My name is Dan. I'm the founder of a songwriting and guitar and ukulele learning platform called Moosiko. And we're about 300 school districts across the country helping students learn guitar and ukulele and write their own songs.
Yay. And I should say that I use Moosiko with my students, and they just finished performing the original songs they wrote using the Moosiko songwriting tool, which is awesome. And Dan has shown it before. So if you look at a past video, you should check out the songwriting tool because it's so cool.
It's
And
great.
yeah, it is amazing. And we are lucky to have Kat Reinhert here tonight, who is my dear friend. We work together at Songwriting for Music Educators, but she is a fantastic singer, songwriter. She performs regularly with a band and in solo gigs. She also teaches songwriting at Berklee College of Music and does so many other amazing things. And so I'll let her say hi.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here and to share all this really cool stuff. So thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Yes.
Welcome.
And Kat, even though we've collaborated, she also was my private teacher, and she has helped me in my songwriting. And so I am so excited for her to inspire the students who will be watching this video. But before we get into asking Kat tons of questions about songwriting, Kat is going to be sharing the winning lyric for the start of verse 2 for our Passage of Time song. Kat.
All right, so the winning lyric with my drums on the table is I'll tell tomorrow you said hello. There's nothing wrong with trying to grow. Submitted by S. Horsenall 24. It's very exciting. I really love this lyric too.
Yay!
We all need a tambourine. I love this lyric because it calls back to the first verse where we say, "We've made it to sunset, me and tomorrow have almost met." And I know that some of the students were commenting on some of the earlier lyrics and saying it felt like it might be about loss of like a loved one or that type of thing. But now with this new lyric, I feel like it changes the story a little bit. So I'm excited to hear what direction it goes in. So before I start asking Kat questions, just a reminder that the second half of verse 2 will now be voted on next Monday, the 22nd. Is that correct? Monday the 22nd.
Yes.
So make sure you get your couplets in. I'll also be recording an updated demo video. So if you want to write to the most current version, that will be up as well within the next couple of days. But Kat, first, I just want you to tell us how you got into songwriting and, how it became part of your life.
Wow, I didn't expect that question, but kind of late actually, especially when I talk to some of the students that I currently work with who they're like, yeah, I started late. I was like 13. I'm like, oh yeah, I was like 22. Actually I was a little younger, but I was at Manhattan School of Music studying jazz, and I don't know, just I was putting lyrics to like jazz tunes and like really enjoyed like the just trying to find something to sing other than doobie doo. I wasn't a really big fan of scatting. It was such a new thing for me that words felt much safer. So I would try to like, improvise entire choruses with like lyrics, and which is like a really, really impossibly hard thing to do. But and I started to kind of do stuff, and I wrote my first song and I brought it into my ensemble director, and they were like, yeah, no, you can't do that. And I was really like pretty taken aback actually, because the trumpet player had brought in an original song the week before, but I was the singer and I apparently wasn't allowed to do that. So it wasn't a very good song. I think it'd been better if you would have said like, well, cool, you brought in something new. Like, let's see what we can do with this. In hindsight, it's not a great song. It was terrible. But it was still my first thing, and I sort of gave up, and then I just kept. I don't know, something inside of me was just wanting to do it, so I kept at it, kind of privately. And then I had some help from a mentor, Ray Sanchez, who's at the University of Miami, who gave me some like a we had a one-on-one kind of study, independent study when I was doing my master's degree, and he really helped me understand how to shape lyrics, and gave me permission to really like delve deeper into songwriting. And then I started to like just write a lot of songs and, kind of trial and error, figure out what worked and where my aesthetic was coming from jazz, and kind of wanting to go more folk pop, but like not wanting to leave all of that behind. So in the music that I write, there's a lot of kind of what I would probably call like advanced harmony or harmonic sensibilities. But the more I've picked up other instruments, especially the guitar, the less that happens because I don't know what I'm doing. So all the on the piano, I always know where I'm going. So guitar's been very freeing in that way. So yeah, a long time ago, but not as early as I guess some people.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you share that. Terry, I don't know if you experience this in the music industry because I feel like sometimes people are, their minds are blown when they realize that in these educational spaces, so many kids are deterred from creating. Yeah.
Yeah, when Kat, when you just said that about, well, no, you can't do that. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. You can do whatever you want. It's music. It's you can say whatever you want to say. You can do whatever. There's no rules. I love theory, but you can do whatever you want. If it sounds good to your head, then it's good. What is it? Who said it? Was it Count Basie? If it sounds good, it is good. Somebody was it Count Basie? I can't remember who it was.
We need
Um,
fact checkers on the show.
right.
Deep.
If it sounds good, it is good. And I believe in that solely, and no one should ever be, and again, for everybody who's watching and all, the kids watching or whatever, songwriters, period, if if you're told you can't do something, you're speaking to the wrong person.
Mhm.
And keep going. And Kat, what you said about you just kept on writing songs, and yeah, you're gonna write 100 songs, and 93 of them are gonna really be bad, but seven of
Terrible.
them, but 7 of them are gonna be really quite good, and maybe 2 of them are like smash hits,
Yeah.
you know. So I think that was sort of where you were leading this.
Yeah,
So
I mean, 1,000%. I think it's like even I teach today, and like it's a big MO of like never discouraging someone's creativity, like asking questions about like what they're going for because sometimes it's not clear, but never like saying, "Well, no, you shouldn't do that." It's a tragedy.
Yeah. So I mean, you teach songwriting and you obviously are a songwriter. I know personally that you listen to so many songs every week because you have so many students at Berklee. What are some of the things that you get most excited to work with students on? Like, what are the things that light you up when you're working with young songwriters?
Ooh, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I probably on average listen to about 100 songs a week that I need to listen to, assess,
Wow.
and help like go forward from good to great. Some of them in the like later classes will come in great, and then it's like little tweaks, like teeny tiny suggestions, usually about like small things or things in the production that aren't fully supporting the message of the lyric. But I get really excited about lyrics. Like it's my favorite kind of a thing, but also how students pair lyrics with melodies, and how they're telling their stories and their truth. And their kind of fake truths, right? So something I say a lot to students is like make it serve the song. It has to serve the song. It doesn't have to serve the truth. The truth is the song. And like we don't know, we're assuming that who's ever singing it, that is the truth of their story, but that has not been the tradition of songwriting throughout history, and that is not necessarily what serves the song. You know,
mhm.
and I give an example of like, you're writing a song and, the thing happened, on the Manhattan Bridge. I live in New York City, and like, but in your song, the Brooklyn Bridge makes for a better lyric then you got to put it on the Brooklyn Bridge. It's not an
Yeah.
untruth. It just will make the song and the aesthetic of that stronger. And at the same time, like, we have artists who are singing other people's songs as if they were theirs. Case in point is people say, "Oh, that Frank Sinatra song, Fly Me to the Moon." Well, that implies that he wrote it and he didn't. And I think, like, but he owns it in such a way that it feels like it. And I think there's such a power and an empowerment of singing songs that you believe, right? And
Mhm.
the truth is, whatever truth you're singing in the song, and if you feel it, it's the emotion that's the truth. It's not necessarily all the teeny tiny little pieces.
I love that because it's like even the song we're doing with Schoolapalooza, about the passage of time. When I was singing through it with my students today, I'm like, "What's happening in the story?" And some of them are like, "Oh, it's definitely a breakup, and she's moving on from him." And other kids are like, "No way, this is about a family member." And another kid said, "No, this is a friendship." And I'm like, the fact that you can all see your own stories in this song is what's making it a good song. It's specific, but it's also general enough that we can all like relate to something in it. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, 1,000%. And we don't know, like, we assume that we know, but, like, I think somebody interviewed Lizzie McAlpine recently and her song Ceilings. And literally it started because she was staring at the ceiling. Like, she was like, "Oh, that's an interesting, like, plaster thing." And that was the first, like, line of the song, and people were like, "Oh, that's so deep and dark." And she's like, "I was staring at the ceiling, like, literally."
Yeah.
So I think we don't know. And then the other thing that really excites me is when somebody will turn in a song and we're listening to it, or I'm listening to it, and, like, I know what's coming next. And not in a predictably, like, boring way, but in a way that's really satisfying. Like, I get
Mm.
to their verse and I'm like, I don't know what they're gonna say, but I know where that melody is gonna go, and I know where that and then I get it, and it's like, "Oh, yeah."
The payoff, the payoff.
Off, right? And, like,
Yeah.
and then they get to the hook and it's like, "Yes, that's totally where my ears wanted to go." And, like,
Mhm.
it's so satisfying to listen to those. And when someone has gotten to, the level as a songwriter where, like, that is something that I hear every week from them, that's really cool. And again, it's not boring. There's predictable and kind of like uh not something that you want, but there's predictable and satisfying, which is a really different thing, I think.
Mm, that's a good point. Great point.
Dan, I'm curious about what you think about Kat's assessment that there can be some freedom in writing on guitar. If you're using like simplified shapes too with students, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think so. Some of the things that I always do if I just want like some new creative, inspiration, is I will just put my fingers on six random frets, or four random frets right along the fretboard, and I'll just hear how it sounds. Then I'll adjust one fret and I'll adjust a little fret, and it will give me like, oh, this is new. And then I'll try to like, what can I get? Can I get a melody to this? And sometimes it's like very unique and and very sometimes disturbing. You're like, this is like a sound that's not pleasant, but it will lead me to a new place. And I guess with the guitar, because I'm more comfortable with that. It's just an exercise I'll often do if I want a fresh idea.
I love that. That's so
I do
fun.
that too, and I love it. And, like, that's the guitar is like same for you. It's like it's free for me. Like, I don't my ears will take me places, but, like, I don't always know what I'm playing. I can figure it out because my theory's really good, but, like, I don't always know what I'm doing. Whereas at the piano, my fingers have played that instrument since I was 8. I totally know, like, where my fingers, like, think before my head does. So
Yeah, it's I think we talked about that too with alternate tunings. I find that really fun to explore if any students are watching this, looking up some alternate tunings where you don't know the shapes and you just have to put your fingers in random places and see how it sounds can be really cool too. So
And
Kat,
using a capo
yeah,
as well. That changes things considerably.
yeah.
So
Kat, I was gonna say, since you love lyrics so much, do you have a personal favorite lyric that you've written? Like a lyric where you're like, wow, that was great. And I'm so proud of myself.
I do. Lately, I've been pondering the verisimilitude of time is one of my favorite
whoa.
just because I figured out how to use that word. Like, it means, like, the truthfulness of time. Like, lately, I've been thinking about how truthful time is and whether or not it is or not, like, a very big concept, but like I was looking up I just wanted a different word than truth, and I used like power thesaurus, which is my favorite thesaurus, like for finding new words, and that was one of the words. And I was like, oh my god, can I figure out how to phrase this so it won't feel like weird? But yeah, that's my favorite so far.
Verisimilitude, I love it.
Yeah, verisimilitude with a V. Yeah.
Everyone watching should try to put that into a song now. Maybe the next couplet will have verisimilitude.
Verisimilitude.
It's passage of time, so, you know.
So here's another thing that I've been exploring. So my wife is Brazilian, and I've slowly been learning Portuguese. The Portuguese language is very sing-songy because every word is almost vowel consonant, right? So it's super easy to string these beautiful like lyrics together that just work. But trying to do that in other languages also just gives you a new perspective on like
Mm.
phrasing and types of lyrics and types of melodies. So that's something that's been really fun is writing songs in Portuguese, even though my pronunciation probably stinks. The melodies and the song that comes out of it are just different than writing in English.
Yeah, I think you're such a great lyrical writer, Kat, and it's fun because this whole collaboration for students is really based on lyrics. They're getting a chance to practice their lyric writing, and I've seen even my students, Terry, like kudos to this incredible site that you've built. Like they have gotten better at writing lyrics just in these couple of weeks that we've
Great.
been doing it because I think they're also it's that embedded assessment, right? They're assessing each other's lyrics. They're talking about what works, what doesn't work, if they like the length, if they like the rhymes, and it's really cool.
Well, that was one of the inspirations about Hookist was getting people to write together and bounce ideas off each other and be my partner and I we're always saying that Hookist is a nice place on the internet because everyone is so you look through all the comments because you can comment on one another's lyrics and things and they're always so positive and it's just a great environment in that way. But I have actually, Kat, I have a question if you don't mind. So you play piano and some guitar. It's always interesting to me to hear how, when you start to write a song, do you start with the lyrics? Do you start with the melody? Do you start with the chord progression? The
Yes.
piano part?
Yes.
Just yes. Good answer. Good
Um,
answer.
I mean, I'm as much a student of songwriting as I am a songwriter. And I think, I mean, my ethos as a songwriter is to always try to, challenge myself. My favorite way to write is, and kind of like my personal favorite preference, because I think we all have preferences and understanding what those are actually helps us learn how to grow as songwriters. So my personal favorite is to come up with like a groove or like some sort of chord progression groove vamp or something. Usually two chords, maybe three, with some sort of rhythm, especially if I'm on guitar. And that's been one of the most fun things about guitar is just the rhythmic element of that. And so, and then I'll start kind of like riffing melodies. Maybe like I have a song seed, which is like little song ideas that I'll have this kind of musical idea, and I'll go into my song seeds and see if something kind of sparks joy with this chord progression and this groove I'm playing, and then just start riffing lyrics until something sort of feels like, oh, that's cool, and I'll stop and like write it down, and then like kind of just I think of songs as puzzles where I actually have all the pieces. I just have to find them. And some of them are really obvious and it's easy to see where they fit together. And others are like underneath the couch cushion and I have to go searching for them. Or like I think they fit and then I realize that they didn't fit. And so I have to like go like take that piece out that like feels like it really fits, but it's actually stuck, and so you have to like take that out and go find the right one. Um, and so, but that being said, because I know that about myself, I intentionally try to do different things to keep challenging myself as a songwriter. So I'll write just a melody, or I'll just write an entire chord progression and then try to top line it, or I'll just come up with lyrics, like I'm on a plane and I'm like, what else do I do with this 6 hours? I'm like, write lyrics, like, can I craft something and then figure out what that would be later? And I think anybody who's wanting to kind of go into songwriting, that's a really good thing to try is like know where your strengths are, but then like lean into where you're not as strong, because it'll make everything stronger. Because when I do that and I come back to the way I like to write, everything is stronger, you know?
Hmm. So the answer was true when you said
Yeah.
yes to all
Yes.
those questions.
Yes.
I love that
Great.
puzzle analogy. I'm
Yeah.
definitely using that.
Yeah.
And
It's
cool.
definitely what happens in my brain. It's also like a way that I work with like what people talk about is like writer's block. I'm like, I don't really believe in it. Number one, because I can always just write, even if it's not good. But also that I already have everything. Like it's here. I just have to find it, which is a really different mental game to play than like I can't find it. It's lost. Or it doesn't exist and I don't even know what to look for. It's like, no, it's in me. Like I don't know what it is yet, but I have to find it. So
You're exercising that muscle.
yeah.
And like anything, it's just, you can run around the park once, and then, in a month into it, you're running around the park 4 times. And then it's the same. Yeah, I think about the same way of, you just write, as long as you just pursue it every day, just write some bad things every day. And then eventually there'll be good things, don't let that deter you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I know Kat and we talk about that in our songwriting for music educators work, is like, be okay with being bad.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're 22 or you're 13 or you're 45 and you're a music teacher and you've never written a song before. Like, you can be bad when you start. Give yourself permission. Just show up and, don't let being a novice deter you from digging into your creativity. I'm looking at our time and I know that we're short on time with you, Kat, but if you could give us like one, kind of summarizing piece of advice for, I would say most of the people writing for this are middle school and high school. So if you have, any advice for these young middle school and high school songwriters, what would it be?
I mean, I think you just touched on it, which is like kind of roll around in the suck and keep going. Like show up for yourself. Like even when you don't want to, show up for yourself when it feels hard, especially when it feels hard. Um and it's kind of like you, if you've written once like one song, then you sort of know what that feels like, and always think about that when you get stuck. It's like, okay, I'm going for that. Like it's kind of like the end of a workout or something that was like really hard and you didn't want to start it, but by the time you finish it you feel really good. I think it's that. And yeah, just give yourself permission to keep trying. I think so many people quit, or they don't finish. Like finishing songs is really important. Finish it, even if it's bad, and get it out of the way. Because otherwise, it just kind of like backstops your drain, and you can't like it sits there, kind of eating at you. So like finish it, tie it in a bow, put it in a box, and like move on. If there was a line in there that was great, pull it and grab it. But like you don't have to. Yeah, just like enjoy the suck, keep showing up, and like finish, would be my 3 like biggest pieces of advice.
I love it. That's so
Great
cool.
advice.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Kat, for joining us tonight.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, we have a few weeks left for our Passage of Time song. Make sure you submit your lyrics for the second half of verse 2 by next Monday at 7 p.m. and we'll be choosing our next lyric.
Exactly what you said.
Woohoo.
That's great. Yes. Yeah. Kat, again, thank you so much for joining
Oh,
us.
thank you. It was super fun.
Here we go. We're ending the stream. Bye, everyone. See you next Monday.
See ya.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.